Hi there, let's take a look at inside the cockpit. Welcome to X737 Air Manager project, building the overhead panel. Wanted to show you an update of what I've tried to do recently. Started off with the temperature controller panel that controls cabin pressure, or cabin temperature. And you can see there's my work, and you can see there's temperature gauge and a selector knob that allows you to select the different zones in the cabin and also the left and right pack output temperatures. And by selecting the knob, you can connect that. There's also an air trim air valve. What that does, watch the temperature. When I turn that off and on, if I have it on the control cabin, there you can see we have the control knobs for each of the zones. And there's also a zone temperature that gives an alert when the temperature is rising too rapidly or gets too hot in one of the zones. What I was going to say is, as you can see the temperature gauge there, we have the trim air switch. And if you turn that on, so you can see I adjust the temperature, and you can see the rising temperature in the with the control cabin selected. You can see that increasing as the temperatures turn to full warm. And the trim air switch is a switch that actually adds warm air up at high altitude. Sometimes the heat produced by the packs just isn't sufficient. So the trim air adds warm air, pneumatic air that hasn't been through the air cycle machine, into the flow to warm it up a bit. You can see as we turn it off and on, now they're off, you can see the temperature coming back down. I added the voice recorder too, since it was nearby. There's something wrong with the logic, I think, because it's not staying in the on position, it stays in the auto position. Not a big deal, but we'll be talking to Benedict about that. Now as we go on, I'll show you the other panel, another small panel I did. It took a while because there's a lot of lights, door lights, but it's a panel that includes the door lights and the other part of the cockpit voice recorder. You can see this one has the microphone and the test switch and the erase switch. Of course, the erase switch will erase the recording. It runs on a continuous loop. I think it's 15 or 30 hours, some long amount. And then the test switch, when you test that, of course, the light comes on and goes out. There's also a headphone jack you see there on the right for use in testing the system. Now the door lights, you can see they're laid out in a somewhat logical manner. I'll show you, let's turn the lights on, light test on, and you can see that the forward entry, which is on the left, and the forward service, which is on the right and the top, and the aft entry and aft service is on the bottom. The left side has the air stairs and the equipment to get in. There's a door to get into equipment under the belly. On the right side is a cargo, forward and aft, and in the middle, the over-wing exits. Turn that back off. And that's really all I've done this week. Not a whole lot. Important lights nonetheless, but not too exciting. Did decide to keep that cockpit voice recorder attached to the other two panels so I don't get too many separate panels. I did want to show you one other thing. I want to show you the complete panel of everything I've done so far. You can see I'm starting to fill out the overhead cabin. Consider the left the first tier, the second column and the fourth column are completed. I need to do some work on some other instruments on the third column there above the hydraulics. We'll have anti-ice and the window heat. And then on the left side, as you can see, mostly all that's left is the instrument selector panel, and then above that the flight control panel. Then there'll be a center panel that runs between those two halves, and of course then the light panel, the overhead forward panel has the light switches and the APU start switch and several other gauges. So coming right along, should be able to have this done before too long. And excited to see how we can work this out when it gets all together and get it up on one screen. I had to cut them in half the resolution, half the size to get them on this monitor in this orientation. But if I run them sideways, they should all fit. And of course, I made the graphics at double the normal resolution, so we should have extra space. But everything operates even on this smaller format. And I think the larger format will be much better for touch control, which is my goal, to have a touchscreen monitor. I'll be demoing this thing on a smaller touchscreen monitor, and as I get a chance, I will try to figure out a way to put together at least a 40-inch overhead monitor. Let me just shut off the number of the switches here just to demonstrate they work. Yep, that's about it. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and you'll check back soon. I'll be continuing my development of these panels. Thanks for watching.